Hello everybody and welcome to the YouTube character profile re-upload for Vera Duckworth. We thought we'd put this on this week. She's been getting a bit of a shout out on Coronation Street lately. Now reincarnated as a pigeon, maybe? I don't know. That's what Ruby and Hope seem to think. But she's fluttered off and back into the afterlife to be with her little swamp duck Jack. No, she was the swamp duck, wasn't she? Whatever. You can find out by listening to this. Sadly, since we recorded this back in 2015, I think, for episode 136 of the podcast, Liz Dawn, the actress who played Vera Duckworth, passed away. She died on the 25th September 2017 of her lung problems, her chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. But we are not here to talk about that. We're going to be celebrating her life and the classic character of Vera. So sit back, enjoy. Here is the character profile of Vera Duckworth.
Classic character profile time. It's Vera Duckworth.
Wow.
Because it's Valentine's Day.
She's our little swamp duck, isn't she, Vera Duckworth? The randiest mare of the street.
Is she?
Well, maybe Phyllis Pierce.
I don't think so these days. Born the 3rd of September, 1937.
Oh, just before the war.
She died on the 18th of January, 2008.
Sad.
But shoot, that wasn't the end of Vera. Oh, no.
No, and yes, he was born to Joss Shackleton, unconfirmed apparently, and Amy Burton as well. That was her mum. Her husband was Jack Duckworth, who we did a character profile way back in episode 14 of Conversation Street. So we'll probably repeat a few things from that, but, you know, it's a while ago.
Just have a snooze if you've heard it before.
Infamous son, Terry Duckworth, Bad Penny.
She first appeared on the 19th of August, 1974, and
this is where it gets confusing.
In real life, or in the show, in the real life of the show, she last appeared on the 18th of January 2008, but she appeared as a vision on the 8th of November 2010.
When Jack died.
A spectre.
We'll talk about that a bit later, if you're confused.
I'm sure you're not confused. She appeared in 2,277 episodes, 12th most featured character, played by Elizabeth Dawn.
Yes. So she played a non-speaking background character in early 1974, back in the warehouse there. Then she was back again later in the year for a couple of episodes, and as is the case with many a classic character, the producers saw her potential, brought her back again for a little bit in 1976, and then full-time from December that year. And good job they did.
In 1974, she was working as a packer in the Mark Britton warehouse, and she joined the workers when they went on strike. Oh, much upheaval and turmoil.
Well, I think that is not the first of many Vera Duckworth strikes, that was, wasn't it?
What a dirty socialist.
I think, no, it's just any excuse to get off work.
Well, that's what they do in these days, isn't it?
Well, when it sends a teacher's strike, it's brilliant. Day off.
I don't get to strike. 1976, there was a warehouse fire, and so Mike Baldwin opened a denim factory in its place, and she got a job there as a machinist. Yeah,
and also that summer, I think it was, she dated Fred G when she was on a short break from her marriage to Jack. But I think back in those days, Jack wasn't featured. It was just one of these characters that was talked about. Like she would talk about a bit of a fat Brenda, and then and Bill Tarmy had been in like the background in a few episodes as well, running up to his kind of reveal, which was I think at Gail and Brian's wedding. So he was you have to leave him to your imagination.
In 1980, she went to France. There's a big jump on that. 1980, she went to France
it's a scheme.
Great British Worker Scheme. With Hilda and Ivy, they got drunk with a load of paratroopers, and somehow, no one's going to admit how, Vera's knickers got flown from the town hall flagpole, which caused an international incident, as you might imagine. I hope they were clean.
I'm glad they had that story in 1980 and not like in 2007, 2008.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, but they would be like flag size, surely.
Yeah, back then they would be. I don't think that they showed any of that. I think they had them going off to France and they came back with the stories. She fell out with Hilda later that year because she won the bingo and Hilda said it was Stan's ticket. So they had a big falling out, eventually leading to Hilda's dismissal from the factory because Hilda, trying to try and get her own back, led Vera to believe that the factory girls had won £12,000 on the pools, when actually they hadn't.
I want to win £12,000.
You can't change to play the pools.
In 1981, she had an affair with a bricklayer, and Jack threw her out.
Yeah, so she moved in with the Tilsleys for a bit that year because she was obviously good friends with Ivy. Vera and Ivy were like the factory double act, I suppose. But made just a bit of a nuisance of herself until Eiley is forced to try and persuade her to patch things up with Jack and threw her out. You always think of Jack and Vera of being like the perfect Corrie couple or the classic couple, or you say, well, who's going to be the new Jack and Vera that are going to go on forever?
And never break up and always be together even though they hate each other.
But yeah, no, they did break up quite a lot. They were both unfaithful as well. I think the thing is they did love each other properly, as much as Jack didn't want to admit it.
As long as you really love each other.
So there's still hope then for David and Kylie to be the new Jack and Vera, because they're just going through the always breaking up with each other stage.
Rocky stage.
Yes.
Now, this bricklayer was called Vic.
Yes.
And then she had a fling with him.
In 1982.
Yeah. Is that the same one as in 1981? Or did she just have a thing for bricklayers?
I think probably. I've doubled up the notes there. I don't know, 1991, 1982, who knows?
Counting? It's all the 80s.
Yeah, she got Bet to be her alibi that year. But it turned out that Bet had a one-night stand with Jack on the same day.
Who wouldn't want to have a one-night stand with Jack Duckworth?
Everybody, although I'm sure that Bet was hot property back then, and that was one of Jack's proudest notches on his bedpost, probably.
In 1983, they lowered the tone of the street because they bought Number 9 from Chalky Whiteley, you know, for £11,000. I'd give you £11,000 for one of them.
Yeah, so this was like the early Batterseas, wasn't it? Yeah. Like 15 years earlier. Because, they were, I think that the Duckworths prior to 1983 were very much like, well, they're kind of maybe in the Rovers a little bit or at the factory, and you didn't see very much of them. I mean, we had Vera coming in 1976, 1974 was it? I mean, she hasn't really done anything for now, but 1983 onwards was like the beginning of the golden era of the Duckworths in the street. And that was also when Terry came in, who'd just been back, had he been in prison or... He's been in the army or something. I can't remember. He'd just been doing wrong things. I don't think he was a proper wrong un at the beginning, Terry.
No, he is.
He once a wrong un, always a wrong
un.
Un.
He moved in, and that year also, Vera discovered that Jack was posing as Vince Sinclair at the local dating agency, and then she pretends to be Carol Monroe. And she arranges a meeting with him, and that's when she starts to happen.
That is one of my favourite funny scenes on Coronation Street.
Classic Valentine's Day scene.
Did it happen on Valentine's Day?
No, I don't know. Think so.
That was just brilliant. It was I think Bet.
I'm just trying to link it all to Valentine's Day.
Love. Yeah, Bet had gone to the dating agency, and then she was almost choked up when she saw this video of Jack there going, "Hey, Vince Sinclair, I'm a big kid with a lady," or so. I can't remember what he said. And then when Vera was dressed as Carol in the Rovers.
Chuck.
What a pleasure to meet you. And then it was like, what do you do? There she goes. And then he goes, "Oh, you're not a widow." She's like, "Yeah, I will be by the time I get you." I loved it. That was a brilliant scene. 1985 then. Terry got Andrea Clayton pregnant as a neighbour maybe or something. And her parents fled the streets to get away from the rough Duckworths.
They're wrongins.
Yes.
Now, in 1984, this is the year, as we know, when Big Brother came into effect and everybody was being clamped down by big government surveillance, and that's when they got caught.
Matches that, didn't it?
Yeah.
Without a TV licence.
They got fined £150 for having an out-of-date TV licence. And Jack gets really drunk to celebrate.
Yeah, Vera got caught by it, and I think it was in her name or something, so she got hauled up in court. But she didn't go to prison, so Jack got drunk to celebrate, and then fell over the TV and smashed it.
How much do you think the fine is now? Because £150 in 1984 was a heck of a lot of money, isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
It's a lot of money.
Must be a lot more now. And there's even more channels you'll be getting for free these days.
Don't answer the door when they come round.
I don't think you can get away with not even paying it these days. They just kind of sneak it out of your account, don't they? It's not like you have to save up the stamps or anything.
No, I don't think they do that.
Well, you don't get paper ones anymore.
I think they do. I think if you don't have one, they come around and say, "Why haven't you got one?" And you've got to prove you don't watch television.
Yeah, my teacher at school, one of my teachers, didn't used to have a TV licence.
Do they not have a TV?
I think she said she had a TV that she used to use for sewing patterns or something.
Maybe not how it works.
Maybe that was just the excuse that she used when the people came around. And there's Phil at school that doesn't have a TV. Weird. How would you not have a TV?
Surely by now, the revenue from freaking Top Gear pays for everyone's TV licenses, and we shouldn't have to pay for it anymore.
Yeah, and Top Gear and
Doctor Who and Top Gear, they can just take the hit for everybody.
Yeah. I think it's okay for us to say that you're weird if you don't have a TV licence, because I'm sure that everyone who's listening to us now watches TV.
Yeah, they must do.
But they don't necessarily have TV licences,
yeah, because
do
you
they?
can watch it on YouTube.
Most other countries don't have
subsidise
TV
public
licence.
television like we do.
We can watch Doctor Who advert free at the moment.
Ha!
It's great.
In your face.
Right. that was then what happened in
1986. Jack entered a competition in Vera's name in Women's Choice magazine, and they win a Vauxhall Nova.
Yeah, he entered a competition from Vera saying why she had the most amazing husband in the world or something.
Aww.
But because it was in her name, she wouldn't let him drive the car, but she didn't even know how to drive, so she started getting lessons herself, passed first time, and drove Ivy out to a strip club to celebrate. She thinks she did the old Corrie double bluff of, how did the driving test go? Oh, well, I passed!
I passed, let's go see some
That's how they always do it.
naked men.
I don't know what did Ivy like going to strip clubs? I thought she was a good Catholic
Who
girl.
likes going to strip clubs? In 1987, she moved
This is her mum,
her mum.
Amy Burton, into the house because she had fallen ill.
Okay, that's a bit ambiguously written. And Amy was very clear that she did not like Jack.
Yes. I think I remember watching some of that on classic Coronation Street, and I think back at the time I had no idea about anything to do with Vera's parents, and
I had no idea that they were ever in it.
Oh no, that's what I thought. And when I was watching it, I was like, they don't really fit in. Jack and Vera they don't need parents, but she was not a very nice lady.
Spawned under a cabbage patch.
Yeah, I didn't trust Jack. I don't know why. Perfectly trustworthy. 1988. So by now Amy was working as a cleaner at the Rovers, getting into trouble, shoplifting at the corner shop. And then when all that came out, Vera sent her packing. Going back to that car driving from Vera, 1988, Jack's nose got broken because Vera was taking him on a drive somewhere, crashed into a lamppost, and like a good husband, he sued her insurance company for compensation. Got a cheque for it and all, but Vera went and spent it because Jack didn't have a bank account, so she had to.
She earned that.
She had to put it in herself, but she spent all but £15 of it. So. Good for her.
Good for her. 1989, she got a job on the tills at Better Buys when Baldwin's Casuals was demolished, and also that year, Number 9 got its infamous stone cladding. It's hideous.
It wasn't quite so blue back then, but it was still. I quite like it. I can't imagine ever Coronation Street without it, really.
I know, I can't. If they ever get rid of it, it'll be like, oh my gosh.
They'd never get rid of it. The old
Who lives there again? It's Tyrone.
Tyrone. I think it's going to always be.
It?
No, it's always going to be like the common family that are
I
living
can just
there.
imagine him, Fizz saying to him one day, "Oh, maybe we should change it," and him getting really upset and refusing to, and her having to just live with it.
Anyway, you need something on Coronation Street to tell the houses apart because it's hard sometimes. But that one stands out, and the number 7, which has got all the modern bricks, because that was the one that collapsed and then was rebuilt in the 80s or whatever. So I'm all for it. I think it's quite cool.
Yeah, well, we wouldn't be allowed it because we have to have our house has to be white according to our, what's it called?
I don't know. Legal document. Deed
or something, I don't know. And we're not allowed a goat on the front lawn.
No. 1991, Amy died, and then it was revealed that Vera's father was Josh Shackleton. He introduced himself to Amy's funeral, and also gave a bit of a revelation that he was allegedly the illegitimate grandson of King Edward XI. And from that point on, Vera believed that she had blue blood, and that was like a running joke for Vera for the next 15 years, wasn't it?
Is that the king with the good potatoes?
I don't know which one King Edward VII is. But anyway...
7th? You said 11th.
Oh, no, 7th. I don't even know that there were 11 of them, actually. They can't be. No, there were not 11 Edwards. 7th. King Edward VII. Yeah, so that was a running joke. So she would always have like a picture of Prince Charles like on the side and refer to him as Cousin Charlie and everything. And I haven't got it later on in the notes, but it was somewhere later on she like writes to the palace, and then either they write back or Jack like writes a letter pretending to be from the palace to keep her happy. He like humoured her in that belief.
Well, the royal family are perfectly capable of humouring their own subjects.
Oh yes, definitely.
Fobbing off letters.
I thought it was quite cool to have her imagine that she was from the royals, because obviously they had such a difficult background and they were like one of the poor people of the street, and everyone said they were common and lowering the tone, and that was just something that Vera could aspire to. So good on Jack for letting her continue to believe.
Yeah, well, you know, my family reckons that there's a bit of royal blood in our family too.
What's that? I can't remember.
I can't remember who it was, used to live in the gatehouse of Osborne House when Victoria and what's his face were there.
Albert.
Yeah, and they reckon he used to come on down to the.
What, where your nan was working?
No, she was. That was a long time after.
Oh,
My nan
right.
worked there. The family, I can't remember. No, it wasn't my nan's family. It's my granddad's family.
Oh, I see.
Who worked there when the Queen Victoria was there, and they reckon he used to come and have a little visit.
Well,
That's probably slander or something.
it's okay.
That's alleged.
Alleged, it's
so
fine.
it is alleged by some people.
Yes. 1992. Vera was trying to track down the son that Terry had with Andrea, who was Paul Clayton. And also that year, grandson number 2, Tommy, arrived because Terry had got Lisa Horton pregnant. And Terry and Lisa marry, but he was sent to jail for GBH that year. 1993, Jack and Vera were left holding the baby because Lisa was killed in a car accident. And Vera was like mum/grandmother to Tommy, and she is all happy families there for a little bit until later on Terry sold Tommy to the Hortons.
Well, I would have sold him if I got the chance. I got the trouble he caused.
I feel so sorry for Vera. She would always stand up for Terry, wouldn't she? I think Jack was the one that was like, "You're no son of mine" and everything. Mm-hmm. I think probably at some point Vera did disown him, but she's very loyal.
Oh, it's a mother's love, isn't it?
Yeah, unbreakable.
In 1994, old flame Lester Fontaine tried to lure Vera away from Jack, but she managed to resist temptation somehow, I don't know. And she also felt guilty because she prayed for money. And the very next day, Jack's brother, dear brother Cliff, died in a car accident, and he left them 30 grand.
He was the one that was responsible for the cladding, I think. I don't remember whether it was the actual original cladding or whether he just went up and painted it, made it extra blue.
Dear brother Cliff.
Yes, he left his mark on the
Dear
street.
lovely rich brother Cliff, who left them money that they could use to buy the Rovers, and Vera could become a landlady, which was her lifelong dream or something.
Yes, I remember that, and I thought that was brilliant when they were landlady and landlord of the Rovers. That can't have been 1994. That must have been 1995 because that was after Bet left. I know I didn't do very well in the notes at all this time.
Were you even paying attention?
I definitely was. Yeah. I don't think they were thinking back on it. They weren't suitable at all to run the Rovers.
No, I don't think it really fits, but it's kind of like a nice legacy for their characters to say that they, it's kind of like the top job of the street, isn't it? Being.
Well, yeah, exactly. You're always going to be remembered in some capacity if you're in charge of the Rovers bit. Although, Natalie Horrocks hasn't gone down in memory books that much. But, oh yeah, Stella. They didn't seem. They just looked like they had wandered back there by accident. They were so proud of it because it was like being like related to royalty. It was like common. What's it called? Done good something. What's the phrase?
Common lad done good or something. I don't know. Right. In 1996. She thought the pub was haunted because Ivy Brenner died recently, and she thought that the pub was being haunted.
Yes, I think Vera saw the ghost there, and then they were doing seances and stuff. When was the last ghost? Oh no, they just had a ghost story on Coronation Street, didn't they? I think this other one lasted a bit longer than that. Yeah.
It's not a real ghost story. I want a real.
You want there to be an actual ghost?
I suppose it did end with a real ghost story.
Well, exactly. Vera's story definitely did.
In 1997, after falling foul of the taxman, unfortunately, the Duckworths gave up their boozy dream of being landlord and lady of Rovers, and they had to sell half of the pub to Alec Gilroy.
Yeah, so he'd been in charge of it before, hadn't he? Because he was married to Bet, obviously, and then he came back for a bit and then started eating away at it. Vera became a grandma for the third time to Terry's son Brad that year. Whatever happened to him? With Trisha Armstrong. Brad's probably going to be one that will come back. In 1997, yeah, he'll probably come back as hunky teenager or something at some point to, I don't know, find Tyrone or something one of these days.
A month.
Yeah, exactly.
Or whatever.
So Vera and Jack went to Las Vegas at the end of the year to renew their wedding vows. But it was revealed, and we don't know whether this is canon or not because it was on a straight-to-video thing, that Jack had lied about his age on their original wedding certificate, meaning that all this time they hadn't been legally married. But we'll forget about that.
Never mind.
Yes.
In 1998, Alec buys them out of the Rovers completely, and they tried to refuse to leave, but he tried to throw them out at Christmas, and they refused to leave, and everybody rallied round and they passed food up.
Yeah, so it's a nice heartwarming Christmas tale of community support of the Duckies.
It's kind of like the end of Christmas Carol, except for not leaning out the window and asking for a goose and getting it passed up. didn't happen.
No, this is quite like that.
Hey, you boy. No, it's not like that at all.
It's not like that.
Okay.
Nice try.
In 1999.
They moved into bed and breakfast, so they were out of the Rovers.
Who is this person?
Because Natalie Horrocks had come in and taken over the Rovers in 1999.
Oh, Eunice.
She got rid of it, and then Eunice G, who was back from the past because she was married to Fred G for a bit in the 80s.
I like that name, Eunice. I want to call my dog Eunice.
That's not a dog's name. She owned a B&B. It's a B&B owner's name. So they moved in there for a bit, and then Eunice moved off to Spain. So the Duckworths were running that for a while until it was sold.
If you become a nun, you have to have a new name, don't you? You can't have your own.
Sister Mary something.
I want to be Sister Mary Eunice.
You're not going to be a nun.
No, because they won't let you be a nun if you're old. Apparently, that was always my backup plan.
You're not old.
No, not now.
Okay, you're going to wait for a bit then.
When you die, I'm going to become a nun, and I can't now, apparently.
Good, because I don't want you going off with anyone else, quite frankly.
I can't go off with anyone else. I won't even let me go off with Jesus.
In 2000, Vera agreed to donate a kidney to long-lost grandson Paul, because Terry had backed out, and this was all part of the story leading up to the 40th anniversary of Coronation Street, where they had a live episode, and Terry was back on the scene, because he came and went lots on Coronation
given it to
Street.
Tracy Barlow.
Yeah, she didn't need it back then. Terry was going to do it, and then he backed out. I think he probably took some money for it or something and went off. And then the only other match that they could find for Paul was Vera. So on the live episode, which also had Prince Charles in, Vera spent the whole time lying unconscious on a bed, which I think was...
What a good agent she had.
Well, I mean, that must have been quite difficult for Liz Dawn, because any little smirks or you can't corpse when you're... Nearly a corpse on a bed. But anyway,
they should have had live surgery. I would have been impressed by that.
That's why they should have waited until September to do Michael's heart operation. Then they could have done that for the live episode.
Good.
But anyway, that was all. She was on death's door basically.
They should do that. They should have obviously not real surgery, but they should have a surgery storyline where you don't know if the character's going to live. That'd be really good. And then you're waiting, just like the real characters in the show. Because when they have a character and they're waiting to find out the results or something, it's never quite as tense as it would be if it's alive. It would be good then, wouldn't it?
Well, I hope that when they do the live episode this year, they do leave some kind of mystery to it, because I mean, I don't like to bring up EastEnders too much, but it's obviously is it EastEnders 40th anniversary coming up this week or next week? I don't know, but
why are you asking me?
That's all over like the internet and the papers and the soap mags, EastEnders, and they're having a load of they're having one big live episode, and then they're also having a few little live segments broadcast, and it's all the end of this Who Killed Lucy? You must have heard about this that's going on. I don't know why I know about this because it's everywhere, and EastEnders is getting lots of praise for it. Who Killed Lucy, Who Done It kind of storyline, and nobody knows who it was that... I don't even know who Lucy is, let alone who killed her.
Who Done It. They can't do another one though because they've done them so recently.
But I don't know
Corrie.
I haven't seen any of this EastEnders one. I don't know what they're doing there to make it so compelling, and so that people don't know who it is, because every time it's been on Coronation Street, it's been kind of obvious. Well, Rob wasn't obvious, but anyway, that's beside the point.
I can't say that.
We're waffling. We're going off topic. I haven't got any notes until 2005. That Vera was not doing very much after that. Retiring from her. Not retiring. Relaxing from her operation.
Chillaxing.
2005, Vera walked out on Jack for one last time because it was trying to keep Jack in line. New tactic. So she moved to Blackpool. And then he went and got her home. So thrilling developments in 2005 there. 2006 was a funny one. She found out that Jack had agreed to sell his body to an artist upon his death. It was so that he could buy her a Christmas present. So she did not like the idea of that, and went and confronted the artist, and they both agreed to pose for her in a picture. And now they're dead. They can have a proper burial.
Be buried like normal.
Except was Vera buried? I thought she had a cremation in the end. I don't know about
I don't know
Jack.
how anyone can afford to get buried on these programmes. They always depict them as completely working class people who have got, don't go on holiday or have big houses and stuff. How can they afford to drop thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds on a plot?
Everything's cheap up north.
Most people can't afford to get buried. I'd love to get buried, but I wouldn't be able to afford it.
That picture of Jack and Vera.
I'd love to get buried. I can't wait for it.
Not yet. That picture of Jack and Vera was I think it was one of the things that we saw on the Coronation Street tour. I think they had that there.
They probably get plots if you're a nun, don't you?
Yes. I think that was part of the funny storyline. I can't remember what made her do it, but where Jack got the picture shoved over the top of his head by Vera when she discovered that he was
probably doing something
posing
annoying.
or whatever.
2007, she hurt her ankle. She injured it. She had to be cared for by Molly and Tyrone.
Yeah, I think this was probably around the stage when Liz Dawn was having her more of her health problems, and it was kind of a way of meaning all Vera's got to sit down all the time. Yeah, so this is when Paul turned up. So this is one of the grandchildren we talked about earlier, and he was a wrong un, of course. Tried to scam Jack and Vera out of a load of money. Molly and Tyrone found out, but still, because of Vera's family loyalty, I know, she refused to believe that her own family would do that to her, despite all the evidence in the past. Jack found out as well. He told Vera that it was him that took the money, though, because he didn't want to leave her heartbroken.
Aww,
so she was still left with good memories of evil Paul. They also had their 50th wedding anniversary with a party in the Rovers that year, and then started plans to move to Blackpool, because Blackpool was always a special place in Vera's heart.
It's a special place in all of our hearts, isn't it, really?
Except we haven't been.
I've been.
Oh yeah, you haven't. Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, Vera wanted to move to Blackpool. I was gutted when Liz Dawn announced that she was going to leave Coronation Street. And I know it's completely for the best for her, because she was pretty ill back then. And since, I mean, she's still ill now in a way, but she had quite a good recovery after she left Coronation Street, so it was for the best.
Yeah, and it's one of those cases where if an actor is unwell, it's kind of better to write them out, where they've got control of the story and they can pick what happens and they can have a proper exit. Unlike some of the cases where they've died off screen.
Off screen. Yeah.
It's not as... I don't feel it's as appropriate.
No. Well, even saying all that, Vera's death was no big fanfare. I mean, early 2008, they found somewhere to live in Blackpool. They started getting things ready for the move. They were visiting one day, went back home, and Vera was complaining that her feet were hurting. Had to sit down. Jack went off to the Rovers, and she died while he was there.
I know, but you say it's no big fanfare, but 12.5 million people watched it.
I don't know how big that was for 2008. I mean, I suppose that must be fairly big, because it gets like 7 million now. Well, everyone was going to see Vera off. I mean, there was just no big kind of...
Well, she didn't get explosion or
plane crash or anything like that.
She locked herself in the microwave and
No, it was a very respectful ending for Vera, and
that's what I mean.
Jack went back, found her slumped on the chair, and
sad.
He loved her.
It's very sad.
It was really sad, and Bill Tarmy did a really good job there, and he came out and announced to everyone that his Vera was dead, his little swamp duck. But that was not the last we saw of Vera on Coronation Street.
She's dead.
I know.
Coronation Street is a programme set in the real world, surely.
Tell us what happened next.
In 2010, Jack was sitting at home, minding his own business, and just quietly dying. And then Vera appeared in a vision, telling him to hurry up because their bus was arriving.
Yeah, they had a little kiss in the dark.
And then they floated off, didn't they? Yeah, something. They went green and sort of wobbled away.
It wasn't quite like that. It was a bit.
And smoke came out.
That's what I was wondering. How really hoping that it wouldn't be when it was announced that Vera was going to come back, because it was just before. It was like a couple of weeks before the tram crash, I think. So we're getting that all out the way first.
What I think should have happened was.
Go on.
He should have been sitting in the chair, and then smoke appears in the corner of the screen, and then a disembodied head of Vera appears, going, "Hey!" and it all sounds all echoey and stuff. That's what I think should happen.
That was appropriate. I was really worried when I heard that Liz Dawn was coming back, and I thought they can't bring something back. Vera's going to be a ghost. It's going to be.
It was going to be the most
and I thought there was no way they were going to get it right, but actually.
You really like it, don't you?
I really, really like it.
I still think it's a bit silly.
I really liked it, and that was. And I don't cry about things or anything, but that was.
You cried though, didn't you?
I didn't cry, but that was probably the closest.
What was the other thing that you said affected you? Oh, Hayley.
Oh yeah, Hayley, but Vera coming back, and it was just because it was so.
It's not real.
It was so sweet. So coming back, and she was looking healthier again, which was nice.
That was
and then
nice.
They had the kiss, Jack went to kiss her, and she was like, "Oh, when did you get soft?" And then they had the music in the background. It was a brilliant ending. I don't think
I guess you can kind of explain it as he was asleep and he was dreaming it, or something.
Well, yeah, exactly.
But to me, they never really tried to make it plausible.
They didn't, but I didn't question it. It was like,
but I think it's strange.
In a program that's set in reality,
I just thought it was weird.
It was weird, but I think it had been almost any other characters or couple or whatever as well. Like, imagine when Tina's sort of there on the balcony and then Tommy shows up or whatever.
Oh my god!
Not that he's I don't know.
trying to think of someone else who's died, but I can't. The only thing I can
When
think
Ken
of
gets killed off, Mike Baldwin will be there going, you're coming with me, Paolo.
Or how about Tracy's having a nap and suddenly it's me, Charlie Stubbs. I've been forgotten what you've done to me.
But no, I thought it was a once off, and that was a really lovely
end.
ending for Vera. Yeah, because Liz Dawn had emphysema.
Well, we say that she last appeared in 2010, but actually she
just back
reprised her role as Vera in 2012 in Text Santa in the Christmas Carol
programme, though, was
which is not canon.
No, not at all.
Yeah, she had to quit in 2007 because she had emphysema, and they said, would you rather just, take a lesser role? And she said, no, I'd rather just leave.
Yeah, I remember in the years running up to it, and Bill and Liz always said, like, if one goes, the other one goes, kind of. And Jack stayed on.
He reneged on that one.
Yeah, he stayed on for another couple of years afterwards. Went and found Connie for a little bit, but it wasn't the same without them. They were the soap super cover, weren't they? Even though they were. I
didn't mind him without Vera, to be honest.
I mean, Jack was such a strong character anyway. Because some couples you think, yeah, definitely there's no point keeping one if the other's gone.
Yeah.
But he was a strong enough character that it was fine. But I preferred them together, obviously.
Aww.
So why are they remembered so well then? Was it just
because they're just like normal people? They hate each other, but they've got married, and there's nothing they can do.
But is there more than that? It's like, yeah,
it's because it's because you can sympathise with them because Vera's always nagging at Jack, and he's like henpecked and stuff, but he also is a layabout, good for nothing.
Yeah, he's like deserves it, doesn't he?
He did, and he knew it, and he kind of was. They were both kind of content with their lot in a way, weren't they? Even though they complained and moaned about it.
Yeah. They were so unlucky. They were like the Ogdens, weren't they? They were just everything that could go wrong went wrong for them, and then so they had the viewers kind of rallying behind them. It's not like, say, I don't know, I mean Anna and Owen or anything. It's a bit like, I suppose, Sally and Tim a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
he's a layabout. She's
and she's naggy,
but not whingy, because
like
Anna's
Anna.
Naggy, and there's nothing particularly redeemable about Anna, not at the moment anyway. But
Anna's lost the plot.
Yeah, but and because they had everything going wrong with them with Terry and everything, and it's just so much that you sympathise with them. And also they had, I like the little family unit that they made with Tyrone as well, who we've not really even mentioned, but
it's quite a soft spot in Coronation Street's heart for the family that you adopt, isn't there?
Yeah.
Which I really like, that idea, that concept.
Better than the actual family.
Yeah.
Blood's not as thick as water.
We've gone through this before, haven't we? That blood is thicker than water doesn't mean that.
So Vera is one of these characters we said earlier that started off as just a minor factory girl, and like for the first few years, that's all she was, as far as I know. I haven't watched any of these ones.
What?
I was wondering if there's any like factory girls now that could go on and take bigger roles. Because quite a lot of the time at the moment,
Julie.
the factory girls, a lot of factory girls are ones that are just also other characters, aren't they? Like Eva isn't just a factory. Well, not she doesn't sew anything, but they're all got other.
Eva?
Well, she works at the factory, doesn't
Does she?
Yeah, she's a packer, isn't she? Doesn't she pack
Eva?
Doesn't she pack with Kirk?
No, she works in the bar. She works in.
I'm sure she works at the factory as well.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure
She's
she
quite
does.
a hard worker then.
I don't know
Then you have
this
one
out.
job at a time.
She hasn't seen her very much though recently. There always has been like
She's pregnant. She can't lift.
ones that are factory girls, like Kelly Crabtree and the twins, and I mean Ida going back in the old days.
Ida Fag.
Ida Clough. That's another Duckworth story we haven't even talked about. But yeah, there's not so most of the people that work in the factory now are other characters as well. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I suppose if you it's a good place to start and then be noticed, because I would have said that Kelly Crabtree could have stayed.
Yeah, she really could.
She was one of my favourite factory girls.
Yeah.
And she was in a way she was quite like Vera, wasn't she?
She was.
Gobby.
She even had the same hair.
Yeah.
Just a different colour.
Yeah, exactly. So it could happen, but I don't think there's ever going to be another Jack and Vera, as much as we'd like there to be.
I think Kylie and David are the nearest thing, but
they are. Kylie's just not quite likeable enough.
I would go as far as to say that they're more three-dimensional than Jack and Vera.
Yeah, Jack and Vera are more kind of a
They're
slapstick and
caricatures,
caricatures,
aren't they? Yeah.
exactly.
But
Whereas
they were
David
still
and
charismatic
Kylie
and lovable.
reflect real life more.
And sympathetic,
Yeah.
despite that.
They just need, like we said, to have more scenes of David and Kylie supporting each other and properly sort of a team together, because it just always seems to be them up against each other and Kylie leaving and so I really hope that when Kylie comes back there's going to be a good few years of Team Platt kind of properly.
We're not talking about the Platts, we're talking about the Duckworth.
I've got nothing else to say about
it's
Vera
Valentine's Day
she's proper
and they're together.
Yeah,
That's the main thing.
I really love the thing about Vera and Jack is that she was always like, oh, Jack, come to bed, and Jack would always roll his eyes and he'd constantly be making jokes about how awful it was to be married to her and the old ball and chain and everything, and she'd be there with her sexy undies beckoning him into the back room and everything. He'd take a stiff drink and follow her, but he did really love her after all.
It was just like Married with Children.
It was a little bit, wasn't it? It was.
Yes.
It was like Alan Peggy Bundy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So proper classic character.
So romantic.
One of my favourites.
True love forever.
I don't know whether Vera would be in my top 10. She might be. I haven't said very much about her.
No.
But she's. I think she's one, like, if you were to say to members of the public, name some classic Coronation Street characters, Vera would probably be up there, wouldn't she?
Definitely.
So,
and I'm sure she wouldn't be mentioned without Jack.
No, exactly.
Sure
You can't have one without the other.
Aww.
So they'll be celebrating Valentine's Day up in heaven or wherever that bus took them now.
Who knows?
Here's to you, Jack and Vera.
Aww.